Well, Ryan, a couple of weeks have now passed. Has it kind of really settled in that we've just had the season that we've had?
Yeah, I guess so. Look, it was a fantastic year, and I think all the credit goes to all the players and the way we played, the results we got. Some of the individual performances were amazing. But I got to admit, after a couple of weeks, I'm over it now. I'm already looking forward to next year and what do we have to do to get better and those sort of things. But yeah, I think you'll always look back and think what a wonderful year we had.
It's kind of nearly coming up to a year now since it was announced that you were agreeing to be the next head coach at Durham. Could you really have imagined it going as well as, and obviously it's well documented that you don't like draws, you wanted to play for wins and you wanted to get this club back to Division 1 where it belongs, but I think a lot of our fans would have maybe been a little bit shocked by how quickly it's been achieved. So could you really have imagined it going this well after just 1 year?
Oh look, I think everyone as a coach, when you go to a new place, you want to bring in a breath of fresh air, so to speak, and you always have aspirations and dreams that, we're going to win everything, we're going to go. Did I really think it could happen? I honestly thought we could be promoted. That was why I came to Durham. I felt the squad that they had assembled and worked through, even though they had a disappointing 2022, you could see the talent was there. So yeah, I reckon I was 90% sure that I could get us promoted. The 10% bit was the dreams, that went on and, winning by 66 points and all that sort of stuff. That was just ridiculous. But in the end of the day, it's quite satisfying.
The style of play that we did play this year, I think probably the most attacking style in the country really. I look at some of the teams in Div 1, they're going at 2.5, 3 and over. That's obviously not your style and not how we played this year. Does that kind of excite you for next year, that kind of we're going to be playing these teams that do tend to score at a slower rate and we'll be able to kind of take the fight to them, as it were?
Well, what excites me the most is that we're going to take our brand into the best league in the country, which means our players are going to be facing better fast bowlers, better spinners, better attacks all round, so to speak. So to accomplish what we want to do, everyone's going to have to step up. And you look at the season our batters had, but they're going to be tested even further. So it's going to be a lot of hard work during the pre-season to make sure that their techniques and their game, which is going to be put under immense pressure, can stand up to that. But yeah, that I'm not going to take a backward step with the way we play. It's going to be aggression, it's going to be looking to win, and hopefully that's going to be exciting.
Going back to I remember talking to you on media day and I'd never had any interaction with you. I didn't really know what your style of cricket was about, so it was quite refreshing as a cricket fan to listen to you talk about what type of cricket you wanted to play and how you envisaged Durham being in the next 5 years, being back in Division 1, be competing for titles. I guess what I'm trying to ask here is kind of the changes that were made over bringing yourself in, new players brought in. Ollie Robinson was brought in from Kent. You brought Baz de Leerder over, who enjoyed a very fruitful first season kind of in between formats. How pleasing is it for you that those new additions have kind of fitted in seamlessly with the rest of the squad, which is kind of, if we look at the most consistent red ball side that was picked this year, it is pretty much the same as last year, and yet the fortunes are remarkably different. So how proud of you are of the new additions that have been able to come in, fit in seamlessly and take us back to Division 1?
Well, the facts are, every sporting team, no matter how good they are, will always change and will always transition, will always try to add new faces to get extra layers into your team. So for us, what we thought we needed to bring in was a bit of aggression, and all-rounders are worth their weight in gold. So, Baz de Leerder, who obviously I knew very well from the Netherlands, I knew what he could bring. Ollie Robson, we all knew was a gun, but I don't think everyone realised just how good he could be. And again, I think Ollie has only just scratched the surface, to be honest. He's got a long way to go in his cricket as well. So, look, it is exciting, but what I like about it is that we brought in players and we tried players that didn't do so well, but they're back in training, they're working hard, and they will also add layers to our team, because the facts are we've lost players this year. sadly, the game of professional sport, you have to say goodbye to a few. And, you know, some of our youngsters who didn't quite have good years have missed out, and hopefully, you know, it's not the end for them, and they'll go away, they'll work hard, and they may be back. But we're also bringing in new players. Again, the Colin Ackermans, the Callum Parkinsons, because we feel that we need to keep adding to that team, because if you stand still, someone's going to go past you. And so that's going to be the tough bit, is how do we keep making our team better? We'll always keep to the traditions of the Northeast and be, you know, homegrown as much as we can, but the facts are we're taking on the rest of the country, and we need really, really good players to do that. So, and I know that might upset a few people here and there that, you know, oh, they're not all from the Northeast, but in a perfect world, yes, every single player would be from the Northeast. But that's not going to happen. So let's be honest here. So, yeah, it's one of those things that's always going to happen. We're going to stay true to our Northeast roots, don't get us wrong, but we've got to keep adding power to this team, because, you know, my other job is to try and produce players for England. And that's what we're really good at here at Durham. So Cass, Potts, maybe Robinson, Alex Lee, who replaces them if they get picked for England? And we have to have the answers to that, and they have to be ready to go.
You mentioned there kind of a couple of additions we're bringing in next year, Callum Parkinson and Colin Ackerman, taking two players from Leicestershire who only just missed out on promotion, two of their best players as well. Kind of talk to the fans a little bit about, first of all, what can we really expect from Colin against someone who you know pretty well from the Netherlands, and then Callum, who kind of came available a bit of a, not as a last minute, but I think a surprise to many county fans that he was going to be leaving Leicestershire. So talk to us a little bit about what Durham fans can expect from them next season.
Well, they're exciting players. You know, obviously I've seen a lot of Colin Ackerman, and look, take away the fact that we just had our greatest year with the bat. Before that, it had been very up and down, inconsistency with the bat. So to bring in a guy that pretty much guarantees that he's going to make 900 to 1,000 runs every year, and the way he goes about it, the calmness he goes about it, he's an absolute gun slipper, which one of the things we did have issues with this year was our slip cordon, and he bowls off spin, which is something we haven't had all year. So what he brings us is a bloody good package that can help us get stronger, and means guys have to compete for their places. So he's a gun. Callum Parkinson, I think, is a really exciting prospect. I think, in all honesty, that England will be looking at Callum Parkinson for the way he does. You've got to remember everything he's done so far, and this is no disrespect to Leicester, but generally in red ball especially, it's been under pressure. And, you know, they've lost a lot of games over the years, and he's bowled a lot of overs pretty much defending. Whereas what we're going to give him the opportunity of doing, as we saw last year with this year with our spinners, he can attack. And I think that's very exciting. And the other part of it all, I guess the piece of the puzzle, we also want to be good at white ball cricket. And that is an area that we haven't improved on massively, but it's somewhere I know that we can. I think in our batting this year in the T20s, we may have made more runs than we've ever done before, and the scoring rates are up. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. But those two are very good white ball players. And so what we can do there is attack all formats. And that's, if we're going to be that best team in the country, which is our goal, you have to play all formats. And we, as a group and as a county, have to understand it's not just going to be about red ball next year. Yes, it's going to be tough in Division 1, but we're coming for the white ball stuff as well. And that's what excites me just as much.
You mentioned there kind of your other job alongside making sure that Durham are the best team in the land is producing players for England. Obviously, we've had the pleasure this year of Bryden Carson making his international T20 debut for England. Matthew Potts has been away with England quite a fair bit. You know, Alex Lees has kind of been reinvented really since he last played for England, and Ollie Robinson's been away on Lions tours. We've had Ben McKinney captain the under-19, so there's a nice strong crop there of players that could go on and play for England. How much pride, as much as there is a slight annoyance, I guess, when you're trying to plan for a game and suddenly you get the email that's saying Matthew Potts and Bryden Carson aren't available this weekend, but how much pride do you take in that guys who are putting their best foot forward for Durham are then getting rewarded with international recognition?
Oh, a great deal. And to be honest, and you've got to remember this come from an Australian who, playing in the Ashes was a little bit torn, but mate, the facts are that's our job, is to produce English Test teams. We are one of the foundation stones of English cricket, and this is what I hope all the other counties realise, is that you have to produce English players. That otherwise the England machine, which we've loved watching in Test cricket, which is taken that to a whole different level, doesn't work without the players coming from the county system. And the white ball team, which has been phenomenal over the last 4 years, doesn't work if you're not producing players. So the facts are, yes, of course it stings a bit when you need to win a game and you lose a Potts or a Cast or someone like that, but that's why depth of a squad is so important. But I'll never back down. I'll never say, oh no, I hope they don't get picked. Like I say, I hope Ollie Robson got picked tomorrow. I hope Alex Lees gets picked tomorrow, because that is part of the job. And for them as individuals, that's what their goal is as well. Of course they want Durham to do brilliantly, but as an individual deep down, they all want to play for England, and we have to try and make that happen.
You mentioned the white ball side of the game, something that you are a bit of an expert in, if I might say so myself, and something that we're trying to change here. Didn't quite have the desired success, I guess it's fair to say, this year. Have you and the coaching staff identified kind of already where some tweaks can be made? I mean, we mentioned there Ackerman and Parkinson are very good white ball players, so they'll be able to come in and help the group. But has there been anything maybe from a tactical side of things that you've already looked at and gone, well, we're going to change this for this year? Don't need to give away all your secrets. What have you looked at so far?
I think it was very clear that, like I say, and this is not just picking on the bowlers, so to speak, but we probably made more runs than we've ever done in the past, at a better rate than we've ever done in the past. But unfortunately, we had injuries and English players being taken. We didn't have our fast bowling attack once for the whole season. Cass didn't bowl a ball. Potts didn't bowl a ball. Coughlin got injured before the start of the season. I probably just got back for 2 games, who could be a big factor in that. Obviously then Buster Later left, and he had played a few games, but he went away. So trying to piece together a bowling attack that's going to be there for the whole time is probably going to be something that we're going to look closely at. Got to remember there's a World Cup next year at exactly the same time. So you would think that De Later will get picked for the Netherlands. Michael Jones might get picked for Scotland. You look at our team and you go, well, that old mate Stokesy and Wood probably aren't going to be here. Does Bryden Cast get picked for that? There's going to be holes that we have to fill, and that's why we're looking so hard at trying to get that depth of bowling stocks. That's why, when you talk of, and if you wanted to go even further into it, the power play was a real area of concern for us, because we just couldn't stop the runs leaking in that power play. But with our overseas, which hopefully we'll be announcing very soon, plus Parkinson, that's probably 4 overs of the power play taken care of already, which we didn't have this season. And then we got to get those other guys to step up. I know Brandon Glover was a bit disappointing this year, but mate, his international record's unbelievable in that format. So he'll go away and work hard. And we got youngsters coming through. We saw Luke Robinson, for instance, debut, and no one had even heard of him. I don't think he was plucked straight out of the academy, but he's going to have a year of pre-season working, getting bigger, stronger, faster. So he's exciting. Daniel Hogg has been added to the group, which everyone knows you don't get 6'8", bloody fast bowlers just falling out of the trees every now and again. So look, there's some excitement there. Have we got it down pat yet about what the makeup of our side is and all that sort of stuff? Not quite, but that's why we have a pre-season, to work it all out.
Even though it was slightly disappointing, there were a couple standout performances to me that caught the eye. First T20 of the season down at Northamptonshire, 2 standout performances. Nathan Souters 5 for 15, and Graham Clark smashing an unbeaten century at the top of the order in a comprehensive win. And then down at Sussex in the 50 over competition. We had David Beddingham break the club record for fastest century scored in the 50 over comp. Alex Lees broke his own record. I think the club's all-time highest total record went out the window as well. So I guess, are those two performances kind of the positives that you take out and show the team and show the players and go, look, this is the blueprint, this is what we want to be like, both in the T20s and the 50 overs?
100%. You know, we had moments in T20 games that we looked amazing. You know, I think we won 3 of our first 4 or 5 games. But again, then the lack of fast bowlers sort of came into it. But then there was moments you think we tied twice, which is ridiculous. You know, you tied twice, you start well against Yorkshire and you get washed off. You know, so there's little elements that always come in for a T20 team. But the facts were, we weren't good enough to be consistently enough to make where we wanted to get to. So that's a great area for us to learn. And I hate to say it, but sadly you got to lose sometimes, because it's actually where you learn the most about the squad and what you've got and what you haven't got. Again, someone like a Bushnell played a lot of the 50 over competition, and he had probably had a less of a run at it than what he had hoped for this year with the advent of Carson Delater as genuine all-rounders. But he looked outstanding in a lot of games. The over that he bowled in that last against Warwickshire, or the Birmingham when he got us home in the 50 over stuff. Like, there's so many good little bits. You know, McIntosh with the gloves on, Graham Clark with the gloves on. Who would have thought that? But you know, there were lots of good stuff. But again, we're not sort of overshadowing the bad stuff. It's something that we're going to sit down, pick apart, learn from. And you know, Alex Lees is our captain. He's a very, very ambitious man, and he wants this white ball team to be very successful. So I think it's going to be an interesting few months, really.
You mentioned Alex Lees there. I want to talk about your 2 captains, Scott Borthwick and Lees. Obviously, both have been around the club a very long time. Scott had a spell away at Surrey, but he's back here now. You talked about at Media Day kind of wanting them to be an extension of you on the pitch to an extent, and kind of, I think you mentioned this in a couple of interviews, the players are pretty much sick of you saying, how are we going to win this game of cricket?
Yeah.
But what has impressed you most about those 2 this year? I mean, I guess from Scott's side of things, or the Red Bull side of things with Scott leading the guys, is the fact that apart from that first game away at Sussex, we weren't defeated. We racked up a record amount of batting bonus points, and then with Lees, kind of we did show improvements in the white ball. Yes, there was the negatives that we talked about, but I'm guessing that the impressive thing is for you that those guys were able to carry out what you asked, and we saw the style of cricket that Durham are now going to play. Yeah,
100%. You know, I thought Scotty as a leader learnt a lot. He'd never had an overseas spinner before, for instance, who suddenly is one of your gun guys. Instead of just bowling medium paces and quicks all the time, it's like I'm sort of giving him the knee and the ribs, saying, mate, we're paying a spinner to come with you. But that's a whole different style of game, because it's never been done really here at the Riverside. So, you know, for him it was a great learning curve, and he had to learn pretty quick, because, you know, we needed results straight away, and I thought that was brilliant by him. He's such a good man manager. You know, players know where they stand. I think that's the same with Alex. So I think what we have, 2 different styles of leaders, but both very ambitious, and they do it their own way, and that's what I love. I literally just hand them the team sheet and say, mate, I don't even get involved in the batting orders. That's how much I sort of back out of it, because I don't want to be the bad guy, because generally I'm always the guy that tells someone he's not playing. But that's the sort of more responsibility I would like for them to have, because it's their team. Once we cross the line, the coaches don't have a say. It's more up to them, and as long as we're on the same page and we have the same vision, I think we're all okay.
The positivity of the club this year is something I think all of us have picked up on. It's been a stark contrast to where it's been the past couple of years, and we've talked about kind of the young guys coming through. There just seems to be a air of positivity. Everything's now on the plus side and not so much looking at the negatives. So looking ahead kind of into next season, obviously we want that to maintain, and the fact we're you know, I think you said in your speech to the guys at the end of the season, it's kind of, we're not here to make up the numbers in Div 1, we're here to compete, and you're not going to take a step down from the style of cricket you play. So how much excitement is there just amongst the group and around the players? Because I can imagine us kind of being at the club but not in the dressing room all the time.
Yeah.
I can imagine it's very exciting for them knowing that they rock up to work and they're going to have a chance to win a lot of games of cricket.
Well, any sportsman, I think, who's worth their weight, they always ask themselves the question, can I compete at the highest level? So for a county player, Division 1 is the highest level. So the fact that we have a room full of guys that a lot of them haven't played in the first division, so that's a great unknown for them, and that makes them excited. Is Ben Rain going to be able to take 50 or 60 wickets next year in the Division 1? I can't tell you the answer. Ben probably can't tell you the answer, but I know that he's really excited to find out why, and if he can. So that's that's the beauty of being in the first division. And you know, I say to myself, and again I sound a bit like a bloody greeting card sometimes, but you come to work, this is a great place to work. We get paid to be involved in the game we love. As a kid, all you wanted to do was play cricket or football. All you wanted to be was a cricketer or a footballer. Here we are. That's what we are doing. And that's what I try and remind our guys, because sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to, and things can take a nasty turn for the worse. And I guess I'm one of those that has been through that, and it's given a brighter outlook on life. And you don't want to get too deep about it, but I just want these blokes to enjoy themselves and have a fun time playing the game that they like playing in the style that they want to play. And in the end, when they look back, when they're having a beer with their 45, 50-year-old mates, they talk about Durham as being the time of their life. Because I reckon if we create that sort of environment, it's going to be a fun area to be around.